I am David Moore, and I'm here with Akeem Lawrence and Ernesto Cuzo, who will be leading today's discussion. Before we start all that, I want to make sure that everybody got their coffee gifts. And if they did not, if you didn't get your coffee gift card, please go ahead and email Emily@Wursta.com and she can get it sent out to you. I just realized that I'm actually wearing the same shirt that I have in that photo. And while my shirt has held up, it doesn't look like my hairline has the same way. But this meeting is being recorded. So I do want to let everybody know that you'll get to hear that again and that you're going to receive a link to this presentation to view it later in the week. We also ask that you guys stay on mute because we do have a nice amount of people here, but you can submit questions at any time using the Meet chat function, and we'll answer those questions as time permits. In addition to the question feature, we're also going to be using the polls feature during our presentation. And if you look kind of in the bottom right-hand corner of the Google Meet, you'll be able to see these three little shapes, and you can click on that to access the polls. Please feel free to go ahead and connect with us on LinkedIn. We'll be chatting our LinkedIn profile links here in the chat so you can access them. This event is being hosted by Wursta, as we mentioned before, and a little bit about us before we get started. We are a Google Cloud Premier partner, and our mission is to help organizations maximize their use of the cloud. To do this, we work side by side to help our clients make good technology decisions and grow their businesses in ways that they wouldn't have the ability to do otherwise. This really helps organizations develop cultures of continuous innovation that is powered by real-time collaboration. With that, I'll turn it over to Akeem to help get us started.
Thanks, Dave. I'm super excited to be here. So let's begin with what is networking. The basic definition of networking is just the capacity of your IT resources to connect with each other and the external world. And network infrastructure is what holds all of that in place. Network infrastructure looks different at every business, and I'm curious to know what our audience is using, so we do have a quick poll.
And you guys can access that poll in the bottom right corner. There's a little triangle, square, and a circle. If you click on that, you'll find the polls. It's looking like hybrid is the winner here today.
Yeah, that's super interesting to see, Dave. So as I said, this is just a simple definition of networking and network infrastructure. Ernesto, what else can you add to that?
Well, it's curious that, good morning, first and foremost, to everybody. I'm super excited to be here and sharing with you. So what I was saying is very curious that people selected hybrid, because actually that's the tendency nowadays. We're talking 20 years ago, everybody was on-prem, and that was the way to go. 10 years ago, people decided to go co-located, like looking for an external source to put their resources and have always business continuity and high availability all the time. And since the cloud come up to play a little bit more than 10 years ago, well, that is the tendency. However, why hybrid? Many of the big companies, or all companies, let's say it's a bank, or especially healthcare industry like hospitals or insurance, medical insurance companies, etc., have decided to use a hybrid approach, even when they're trying to innovate. The reason to do this is because they still have a lot of legacy applications that cannot be migrated to the cloud, and also for compliance purposes. In healthcare and hospital, they require to have a functional infrastructure downstairs or on-prem, even in the case of a major internet loss or internet outage that won't allow them to function properly. I believe that in another 10 years, we're going to have more people cloud-based, 100% cloud-based, since but right now it's extremely interesting that this is happening. But the important thing to consider here, and it's before getting into this, is how important is the design of your network infrastructure. We need to understand that our networking is the first part of any architecture you're going to design over internet or data transmission. So if you don't properly design it and do it in a way that is scalable and allows you to grow with time, then you're going to be stuck moving forward. I love to use an analogy, which is that the analogy of building a house in order to explain this in more graphically. For example, what do you do when you're building your house? The first thing that you do is the foundations, right? Dig a big hole, and you start putting the pillars, and then you create the foundation that is going to support everything which is on top of that. Once the house is built, with time, you can modify the house. You can add another bedroom, you can add a carport, you can add the pool, you can paint it, change the floors, the walls, and everything inside of the house. But if you need to make it bigger, if you need to change the foundation, you need to turn down the house. There is no way to make modifications. And that's exactly the same thing that happened with your network infrastructure. If you don't consider how many subnets you're going to use, if you don't consider the capacity to change from a type of routing policy to another, or that within time your equipment and network devices and appliances needs to be upgraded, and you plan this ahead on time in order to make those changes and upgrades with the minimum downtime, then you're going to be stuck. So it's very sensitive.
Great, thanks. And I think, Ernesto, did you want to share a little demo of kind of the cloud console?
Actually, I want. So let me share my screen a little bit. Let me give you an example how it's very simple, but for you to have an idea how to do it on GCP. I'm sharing my screen now. Okay, so let me go there. So for this purpose, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
This is the main console of Google Cloud Platform. As you can see, I have different projects here, but I created this specifically for this webinar, so we can do it everything from scratch. Here, you got the navigation menu, where it's going to give you all the options that GCP have to offer. We're not going to focus on them now. Maybe Compute Engine a little bit is where you create your VM instances, and we're going to go down to the VPCs. The VPC network is your infrastructure, okay, where you can select which networks, if you're going to use external IP addresses, the firewalling, the routes, the network peering, if it's going to be sharing with another zone, etc. Let's go to the basics. Let's go to VPC networks. So right here, the first thing you're going to see is the default subnets that Google have to offer. This is available for everybody, but when you're designing your own data center, when you're designing your own infrastructure, it needs to be private, as it must be. I never recommend to use these ones. Why? Because these ones are shared between too many people or of too many users, so the security tend to be weak in this case. So what are you gonna do? So I'm here, I need to start moving servers up to the cloud, and I need to create an infrastructure that allows me to grow. First thing you're gonna do is create a VPC network. You're gonna put the name, let's say the Wursta web webinar. I'm sorry. Webinar VPC. It's going to be the VPC. And then you have the option to add your subnets. That's what I was checking earlier. So you need to define how many IP addresses I'm going to need. I'm going to need a bigger subnet, or I'm going to need several subnets because I'm going to use different projects. Let's start with, you can do this automatically, and he will generate IP addresses on every zone, because on every zone that is available. I want to do it with the custom one. I'm going to add a subnet that I'm going to call it Wursta webinar subnet. We're going to use a region since we're located in Austin, and this is very important to select the right zone where you are. So your traffic back and forth to your GCP platform takes less hops to get there. So we're going to use US Central. And I'm going to create like a pool of hops. Let's say 172.16.100/24, which is a class C that gives you 254 available IP, private IP addresses. I'm sorry, I made a mistake here, typo mistake here. We're good now. We're going to provide private Google access. This is depend if you want this subnet to be only available to your Google resources, but it's in the project. But since we're going to use also VPN connectivity or in order to connect our on-prem to our GCP, based on that everybody voted for the hybrid, we're going to leave this off. And this is if you want to, of course, control the logs. In this case, I'm going to say off. I'm not going to do it here because you can do it later with a syslog server. I'm going to click done. And I'm going to click create. This is giving me this because earlier. Okay. Okay, there we go. So it's going to be creating, and you will see that your VPC is being created here. Once your subnet is in here, it will be automatically available for all the resources. Let's say that you're going to create a VPN tunnel. You will be able to find that subnet right there so you can attach resources to it. Same with the virtual machines. Let's wait a little bit since he's finished creating subnet. It's done, and you can go here and you can see the subnet here. You can click on it. The good thing on Google is that allows you a difference of a local or on-prem infrastructure that allows you to make changes, add more IP ranges, and so forth as you grow.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Ernesto. Now, with that, now that we've seen that, I know there's like a ton to cover that we could go over here, but for time's sake, I'd like to see kind of what the audience would like to see next. So we're going to launch a poll. So please give us your opinions. Once again, there's those triangle, circle, square in the bottom right corner of the Meet window. So just click on that and let us know if you want to see how to assign the recently created subnet to a VM instance, or how to route the subnet over a VPN tunnel. Okay. We'll give it just a few more moments, folks. If you'd like to jump in and give us what you'd like to see, we want to make sure you're seeing what you want. Right now we're tied. It looks like VM instance is leading the way here. It's a slim margin. It's a 1 vote margin, but let's go with that. Let's go with how to assign a recently created subnet to a VM instance.
Well, actually, that was an excellent choice. Because even when routing that subnet on the VPN is interesting, that's something that you do after, right? The first thing you need to do before creating all the VPN connections is to define which resources and to which subnets they belong. So let's do that. Let me share my screen again. Let me share my screen again. We're gonna start where we were. And in this case, let's go to Compute Engine and VM instances. Let's say that you're creating a server right now. All right, so we're going to create an instance. I'm just, for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you how to create it and attach the subnet to it, and actually how to select an IP address to it. I won't finalize the creation of the VM because it's going to take too much time. Remember, they need to install the operating system and all that, and it's going to be a lot of time consuming. But let's give it a shot. So you go to create your instance. First thing you're going to do is let's name it. It's nar VM1. You're going to select the zone what it's going to be, right? Or multi-zone. Remember that for our subnet, and this is very important, we selected the central zone. If you don't select this zone, your subnet won't be available there, right? So we're going to select the central zone. Then we define the type of processing power that we want. We can select compute optimized or memory optimized or the general purpose. You're going to have several levels here and then several options. Like, for example, this one is 32 virtual CPUs, 128 gigs of RAM, 16 virtual CPUs, 64 gigs of RAM, depending on what you're going to need. Then this is the boot disk, where you need to select the operating system. In this case, is a virtual machine running Debian GNU Linux. However, you can go here and you can select whatever you want. You can go to CentOS, you can go for Windows servers, and all the version of Windows servers. And based on that, you can create your virtual machines. I like to go with CentOS, since I'm not a big fan of Debian Linux. You can specify the size of your hard drive. I'm going to put like 150 boot disk. I like to have a space on the boot disk, and then you select the type of disk you want to use. You want a balanced one. The balanced ones allow you to have different snapshots, so it's always available. Then the standard persistent disk, it costs the less, but it's like having just a physical mechanical disk attached to your server. You can use SSD and so forth. Let's use SSD in this case. Let's select it. Then this is the access. We're going to allow the default access for now. We're going to allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic. This will add a rule to the firewall. And then we go here where we manage networking and security. But there is a lot of options here, but let's focus on networking at this point. We go into networking. The first thing you need to do is select these tags. If you use a VLAN tags, if not, it's completely optional. Here is where you're going to select your subnet. By default, he showed you the default network provided by Google. But remember that we created our subnet, so we're going to select the network. Wursta Webinar VPC, and automatically he's going to add the subnetwork in there. And it's that way because we only create a subnet. Remember, you can create 10 subnets if you want to, infinite. So if in that case, you can go here and he will show you each one. You can tag it so you know where it goes. This is the primary internal IP. It gives you the option to assign that IP automatically by DHCP. We don't want to do that, especially if it's going to be a production server. So we're going to go and set ephemeral custom. I'm sorry, it's reserve static internal IP address. Let's say VM1 server IP. We're going to say that it's going to let me choose. It's going to be a static. And out of this range, you're going to assign an IP address. Wait, 50. We'll reserve that IP. And it's going to be unavailable for the others resources as you go creating other instances on your project. We hit done here. And we hit create. Well, that's going to be a little bit time consuming because the virtual machine takes a while, but that's the way it's going to work. One is ready, it's going to show you the internal IP in here. If you assign an external IP, it's going to be here that I did one automatic just for this demo. Pretty much that's the process. Let me stop sharing.
Great. So for those who don't know, Ernesto, can you explain how this applies directly to Wursta and what we do?
Of course. So one of the things we want to show here is that the capacity that Wursta have with internal engineers and dedicated professionals to help you to design your path to the cloud from the very beginning. We're going to work with you, helping you doing assessments and understanding your needs. and help you to design an infrastructure that will increase the access security and of course all the firewalling and security and control and access control for that network infrastructure in the cloud. These will allow you to scale quickly and within your budget. One of the important things is that as Google partners, we have the ability to help you with cost optimization, to tell you what is best and how to optimize your cost. At the same time, you're increasing performance and productivity on the cloud. And last but uh, not less, Wursta have a fully capable technical support team that provides support 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, um, that have several levels of escalation. And on top of that, we have the support for Google Premium Support uh, department in case that we need to scale it up further than our capacity.
Great. So appreciate you explaining that, Ernesto, for our audience. We're going to continue and discuss hybrid connectivity in a short video.
Now, it's quite clear that you won't migrate your entire on-prem to the cloud in the first go. It makes a lot more sense to migrate portions at a time where appropriate. As such, you'll still need a way for your on-prem systems to communicate with your newly minted cloud resource. In this episode, I'm going to dive into Google Cloud Interconnect so you can set up high-speed direct connection to Google's network for faster data migration and an optimal hybrid environment. Stay tuned. Sure, you can reach your cloud resources with the appropriate VPC firewalls and IPs in place, but if your hybrid architecture requires connections with higher availability and lower latency, then a direct connection to Google's network can offer more reliability and performance. So let's look at how this plays out in reality. Black Friday is coming up, and you're expecting a significant spike in compute resources to support the inbound traffic to your site. Now, if you have your compute in a GCP VPC, then you could directly ping them from your on-prem systems. This would work, technically. You'd get scalable systems in the cloud and secure processing on-prem. On the backside, however, there are a load of issues. Firstly, this forces the communication between your VPC and on-prem to go through the public internet, communicating through publicly visible IPs, most likely requiring you to secure your traffic via a VPN in the middle. Secondly, this produces a significant performance challenge. The public internet is not the most performant, and the extra overhead of VPN on the packets could lead to less than desired performance on a significant shopping holiday. What you want instead is a reliable way to connect your on-premise workloads to the public cloud in a secure, fast, and reliable manner. In other words, you want to extend your on-premise private network into Google Cloud over a dedicated link. The purpose of Google Cloud Interconnect is to provide direct, fast connection between your on-premise and Google Cloud networks in a secure fashion. This security and performance mixture is hyper important for a large number of industries who work between on-prem and in cloud. For example, data migration, replication, disaster recovery, or other high-performance computing situations. In these scenarios, you want to directly connect your cloud systems while extending your private on-prem network to the cloud. Google Cloud Interconnect provides a few options that can suit your specific needs, but the one I'll focus on is Dedicated Interconnect, which provides direct physical connections between your on-premise network and Google's network. It works like this. You set up a cross-connect between your own router and the Google network in a common co-location facility. If you can't perform this, then the official docs have some options for you. A BGP session is configured over the interconnect between the cloud router and your on-premise router. BGP is a protocol that helps route traffic to subnets using the shortest paths between edge routers. Traffic from your on-premise network can reach your Google Cloud VPC and vice versa. With Dedicated Interconnect, the immediate benefit is an enterprise-grade connection to your Google VPC with a dedicated 10 gigabit per second circuit directly to a Google location. Moreover, you now have connectivity reaching beyond Google's existing network locations, allowing you to scale connectivity and save on your egress traffic costs from your VPC network to your on-premise network. Now you have a way to transfer large amounts of data between networks, which can be more cost-effective than purchasing additional bandwidth over the public internet. On top of that, you'll experience fewer disruptions and drops with a predictable user experience. Traffic between your on-premise and VPC networks doesn't touch the public internet, meaning fewer hops and potential points of failure where it can be disrupted or dropped. A key benefit is that your VPC's internal IP addresses can be directly accessed from your on-premise network with peering, no NAT device or VPN tunnel required. Now, it's quite clear that you won't migrate.
Awesome. So Ernesto, I guess we're supposed, before we move on, we wanted to launch one more poll to find out a little bit more about what areas of improvement are most important to you guys. So once again, look in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You'll see the little triangle, circle, square, and we're going to launch a poll to find out, which areas of improvement are most important for you. And the choices are going to be around revenue optimization and reducing cloud cost, better computing in my industry in the post-COVID-19 world, improving agility and lessening the load on technical resources, or really simplifying the process of understanding the cloud landscape and really understanding the resources that are available to you. So please, if you could navigate over to the polling section and let us know what you think. Always cost is always a good guess. I know we're always being told to get our cloud costs down a little bit in this modern era. Great. Well, moving on, I'd like to have Ernesto talk a little bit about network security best practices.
Oh, of course. And actually, the policy is interesting because we can talk about that a little bit too. So, okay, before designing an infrastructure, you need to take in consideration a lot of key things that to have in mind to be effective when you're designing or implementing. First, you need to know your tools and how to use them. Okay, the Google Cloud Platform gives you a lot of, or have a lot of available tools that you can use in order to evaluate the growth, evaluate the needs, to if you're going to use a NAT, if you're going to use a routers, if it's going to be a load balancer, you need to know these tools and how to use them in order to be effective. Always place your instances in the right zones. It doesn't make sense to have your headquarters in Austin and create your cloud zone for your main projects or your main organization in California. So try to select the central zone where the Google data centers are located on the same place. Like in this case, it's the Iowa data center. So that's something to take under consideration. Choose the right core count for your networking needs. What I said, I've been saying along the whole presentation. When you go into design, you need to know how you're going to grow. It's not that, with the Class C right now, I'm going to cover the 100 devices I have. You need to be prepared for a growing margin from 5 to 10 years. So be always vigilant of that. Always use internal over external IPs. All the cloud platforms offer the ability to assign external IPs or public IP addresses, as they're known, directly to VM instances. This is a big no-no. It's a big security hole because allow external prospect attackers to reach directly your server from the external network, from the internet. So making your server or your instances less secure. So try always to use internal IP addresses. And if you need to go out to the internet, do it through a NAT or cloud NAT. And if you need to forward some traffic internally to that VM server, try to use like a port forwarding protocol or through a cloud router or any other IP forwarding methods that Google Cloud will provide you with. Take under consideration the Google Cloud Marketplace is one of the coolest features that GCP has. They provide over 350 integrated solutions from multiple vendors. You can find VM, Fortinet, Hewlett Packard, and so forth. You can go there and deploy one solution that is known to you. Like, let's say that you have Fortinet, next generation firewall on-prem, and you want to have a connectivity with the same type of device because you want to manage it through FortiCloud. Then you can go to the marketplace and deploy a complete VM, install your licenses, route through your subnets, as we show. Once your subnets are available, you can assign it to this Fortinet VM and use the VPN or SD-WAN capacity of the device to connect to each other. So this is some of the things that I would like. There's more, of course, but I would like you to have these type of things under consideration before designing your infrastructure. Oh, I'm sorry. The poll was about cost optimization. Do you want me to talk about that a little bit, David?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. That's one area that I know we help a lot with our clients.
Of course, yes. Well, the beauty on the network, and part of that was talking the video that we showed earlier, is the many tools you have available to increase your performance from the network standpoint, and at the same time to save costs. For example, Interconnect. Interconnect is kind of costly because you depend on a carrier to provide that, but you can use Interconnect and save money on your current internet provider. Once Interconnect is completely deployed with your cloud infrastructure, since it's gonna give you like a multi-LAN, a LAN-to-LAN multi-LAN, it will allow you to use the native features of Google Cloud to go out to the internet. So you're saving costs with the internet service providers right there. In others, the traffic between the clouds, egress and ingress traffic is costly. One of the ways to reduce this cost is using VPN connections when you're designing a hybrid infrastructure. Since once you create a VPN connection, which is a private one, it will only be internal traffic, and Google would discriminate that for very little cost. We have a client, to give you an example, who is a company who have 100% of their infrastructure running in the cloud. They got around 300 employees, and they work 24 hours, well, not 24 hours a day, but every day on remote desktop sources and technical support, customer service, and all that in the cloud, have 12 VPN tunnels, and they pay less than $1,000 a month having that workload. So the tools and solutions available on the cloud will help you to increase performance, increase productivity, and reduce costs at the same time. If you, of course, know how to use your tool, know your tools and how to use them.
Yeah, and that's really where it sounds like we come in with our integrated cloud solution. So could you talk a little bit about like how that story fits in with kind of the full architecture cost assessment and some of the other offerings that we have?
Of course. Based on that, what I was saying, if you come to us to Wursta, the first thing we're going to do is a full architecture cost assessment. Not only cost, it's going to be a full assessment of everything. We're going to sit with you, listen to your needs and your concerns, understand your necessity, and we're going to together build a plan to growth moving forward. Together with this, we're going to design a solution that fits those needs. And we're going to make also a comparison side by side with other cloud providers. And in order to show how GCP can save you more money in comparison with others and what is the advantages of it with GCP. We're going to help you with the disaster recovery capabilities and business continuity. Google have a lot of solutions integrated into GCP that help you with it, not only from the backup and recovery software standpoint that Google works with the big guys like a VM and Rubrik. Also have their own solution, which is Actifio. We're gonna give you options on this and how to deploy it effectively in order to take this part under control. We're gonna help you with implementation, and we're gonna advise on which core Google Cloud Network products to use. Google have a big portfolio of services for networking, specifically like a cloud armored, like like a web application firewall, have a network connectivity center that will allow you to control all your connections, externals, internals, inner project, and hybrid in one simple location that will help you to manage more effectively your network resources. We're going to talk about the content delivery and load balancers and HTTPS load balancers that Google offers in order to scale up the capacity of your web applications to reach more people and to attend more petitions at the same time in a parallel way. And of course, cloud DNS. This is super important. One of the things we have seen with other clients is that even when they have their production servers and web applications in Google Cloud, usually they manage their domain somewhere else, like populars are GoDaddy, Network Solution, etc. Google provides the same solution to manage your domain, registration, renovation, and so forth, and also provide a fully advanced and complete DNS server that can be integrated into your projects. They can have the ability to import your domains and your DNS zones from other providers into it, giving you more facility to manage, beginning with the centralization. You're going to have the control of all your resources on one central location, and we're going to help you with this.
Great. Excuse me. So really appreciate you clarifying for the audience, Ernesto. Lastly, do we have any customer stories that you could share of how Wursta has helped clients with these issues?
Yes, sir. We have the case of FC benefit administrators. Actually, I was directly involved on the whole process from the beginning with this client. FCE is a third-party administrator of benefits that mostly work for the government contractors and the military. Actually, FCE right now is kind of the #1 TPA in the country. They have offices, the headquarters in San Francisco, operations in San Antonio, Texas, and they have offices in Guam in the naval base because they serve, like I said, government contractors and the military. The good case with FCE is that when we start working with them, they had an on-prem only infrastructure that was completely misdesigned. From the network standpoint, they have only one class C assigned for all servers and the Wi-Fi. So as they grow, back then they have over 380 employees. They don't have enough IP addresses. They sometimes when you connect one people to the Wi-Fi, somebody on a computer lost the IP addresses because there was no more available. And zero cloud presence, zero co-located presence. So we proposed them to first to improve their infrastructure downstairs and then to migrate them to the cloud. They need it because these type of companies are closely monitored and watched by the DOL, the Department of Labor, and of course the Department of Defense. So they need to be in compliance with all the current security frameworks like HIPAA, for example, because they're managing medical benefits and medical records, which is called like a named PHI or private health information. They need to be in compliance with security audits like SOC 1 and SOC 2 for the financial records and so forth. And they wanted to be high trust certified. If you're not familiar with the term, the High Trust Alliance or the High Trust certification is the most stringent security certification nowadays in the market, since a high trust is a compilation of all the security frameworks from HIPAA, PCI, SOC, etc. So what we did with FCE is we start changing their infrastructure on-prem, creating several VPN tunnels. They didn't want Interconnect or they didn't have that ability back then. FCE started migrating to the cloud in 2007 and 2016, the beginning of Google Cloud. Even when they were a client of Office 365, they chose to go with GCP for the cost, for the facility, for the capacity to migrate them effectively. Today, FCE have over 12 VPN tunnels, multi-locations, run 100% of their production from the cloud, where they have everything. They have mobile applications for their members. They have all the customer service running the PBX from Google Cloud. It's all the PBX that move all the lines of VoIP on the whole company and the customer service with dashboards and so forth. They have all the production resources, servers, databases, data warehouses, everything on Google, using all the advantages that Google can offer, like Cloud SQL, BigQuery as a data warehouse and the reporting part. And also FCE has all the customer portals, because they beginning with the facility that Google provides. They began to create portals, a specific portal for the major clients, which is some of them have 10,000 employees and so forth. And I'm happy to say that FCE, because of these steps they took, they are sub 1, type 1 and type 2 compliance. They're sub 2, type 1, type 2, and type 3 compliance. They're PCI compliance, and they achieve high trust certification in 2017, and they are keeping that certification till today. One of the things I want to mention, using this case study as an example, is that at Wursta, when we begin to help you to design your infrastructure, or your moving to the cloud, or your path to the cloud, we're going to do it taking under consideration the most current security frameworks and compliance for your type of industry. So you can rest assured that our help and assistance on this is going to be done and performed, taking under consideration all the security, and to provide you with the capacity to be, like I said, in compliance and to qualify for any security audit. You want to hear more, or?
No, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about this client. I'm very passionate about it.
We can tell it was I'm sure
It's one of the victories, that you put your medals. I did this, so, and that's just...
yeah, I'm sure it was extremely helpful for the audience, so thanks for that example. Just to quickly recap what we discussed today, we discussed what is network optimization. So remember, that's the foundation of your infrastructure. We discussed why it's important. We discussed the on-premise and Google Cloud connection, network security best practices, and the solutions that Wursta offers to help you optimize your network.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Before we get into Q&A, I do want to talk a little bit about some next steps. We do have a couple of upcoming events. One is a Wursta hosted event called Securing Your Organization with Google Cloud. We're going to talk about everything from endpoint management, you're securing your users, your data, disaster recovery. So it's going to cover a lot of different ways that Google can now help you secure your organization. I know it's not what Google's known for, but they've made some really great improvements in their security offerings. So we invite you to come check that out. And speaking of great improvements, Google Cloud Next is also coming up in October, the 12th through the 14th. So you can go to our website under the resources section and find links to register for both of those events. The other thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be reaching out to you to schedule a time to debrief. So Akeem and other members of our cloud team are going to reach out to schedule some time to just go over your thoughts on this webinar, as well as offer you a network and optimization security consultation. This is a free offer, and or a side-by-side cloud cost comparison. So one or both, and we can also help provide an intro to your Google Cloud rep. So with those things being said, I would like to kick it over to some Q&A. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and enter them into the chat area.